Hey, what are some frequently asked questions about prescribed fire? I'm out at the site of one today, so I figured we'd roll through some.
Every day we have to get a permit number from the state. We have to get permission to do the fire. We submit our burn plan. There are some experts in the forestry office that will do a quick glance at what our plan is. If it kind of meets their safety considerations, they'll give us permission to burn and issue a permit for the day.
And then what, is that a state agency, is that city? Who?
That's the Alabama Forestry Commission.
Okay. So if I were wondering if a controlled burn's going on near my place, who do I call?
You could probably call their dispatch office. I don't know the number right off the top of my head, but it's easily looked up on Google or Bing or any other website search. Alabama Forestry Commission, there's a 1-800 number, and someone would be able to tell you if the fire is supposed to be there or not. But 911 is probably the best call if there's any kind of concern. So a fire break just stops the fire. It breaks the path of the fire. Normally, we do that with a machine. We'll go in here with a bulldozer and we'll scrape the surface about 10 feet wide, but that does disrupt the habitat. So if we can help ourselves from doing that, we'll use natural occurrences like a driveway, a creek, a dirt road that already exists, or a highway that already exists, because this is where the animals live. We don't want to disrupt their habitat. We don't want to scrape away topsoil that then erodes later. So anytime we can use a natural occurring break, we're always going to do that. So for this structure, we actually lit this at night when the conditions are the most prohibitive for fire. Fire does not want to survive at night. We have to make it survive. So we fed this thing air as the fire walked away from the building down the hill. Fire doesn't do well downhill as well. So as the night was coming on us and we were starting to get a different pressure shift here, we lit this fire and let it slowly back away from this building so that on a day like today, there's no pressure up against it. We can light a fire and it'll stop after we've removed the fuel. There's nothing here to burn. So this building is safe, and we have prep days that get us ready for our fire days.
So can you explain, like I've heard the term back burning, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Back burning, so something like that, you would start there and then
That's
make
right.
the fire go down as opposed to letting it burn.
We let it back away from the area that we don't want it. So that may be backing away from a fire break or backing away from a structure. And someone who comes out here doesn't realize what's going on. You see flames on the wall. You know, that's intentional, and we were sitting there monitoring that so that we could blacken the area around it, remove that fuel, so now there's nothing to burn if a fire starts going in that direction.
Yeah, so our background, there's 4 of us. 3 of us are retired military guys, and then 1 is a former firefighter. So we all come from a background that communication was essential, because you can't possibly be synced, especially over a large area, unless you've got a way to communicate. So we've always got radios, we've got backup radios, we've installed a radio to move with the side-by-side in here to expand our communication when we're on some of this mountainous terrain. And so myself and Zach might be on this corner of the property, but we can hear what's going on because those guys are communicating on the other side. So everybody's staying synced up, not only with the map, but what's happened since we started the burn that morning.
You do all your preparation, your fire lanes are in good. Every time you light a fire, there's a little bit of nervous, maybe nervous anticipation. It goes back to when I was a fire medic for many years. You've trained, you know what you're doing, and you go into a house fire, and if somebody tells you they don't get a little nervous or a little scared, they're either not very intelligent or hadn't been in very many of them. It's kind of the same here. You know you've done your homework. You know what your conditions are. Everything's right. But if you don't have a little bit of nervousness when you start lighting fire, it turn out bad. And I was always brought up with a fear. Fear is a healthy respect. So, you always get a little nervous when you start lighting fire, even though you know what your conditions are. You know how your fire is supposed to behave. It doesn't matter if I'm burning off 6 acres of pasture ground at my house. When I drop a match, there's a little bit of nervousness.
So overconfidence is a bad thing.
Absolutely.
Well, that's one of the most important environmental factors we look at is the wind, direction, stability for the day, and speed. So wind will drive our fire in a certain direction for us. It also helps us control the smoke. If we need the smoke to move out quickly, we need a quicker wind than if we're okay with the smoke dwelling for a while. We can get by with a little bit slower, less intense wind. Wind also pulls fire for us. So if we're pushing up against a hazard area, like maybe we don't want fire on a certain side of the road, we can light on that road and let the wind pull our fire backwards. And the higher the wind intensity is, the more control we have over that, and the faster it'll pull it off of our hazard area. So we use wind every day.
Can you comment on when you look at a property, sometimes you're looking for a particular wind direction, like you just know, hey, we got to burn this property with a such and such wind. Can you give an example?
Today's burn that you're on now is a perfect example. Highway 34 runs right here. We don't want to cover that in smoke. It's to the south of our burn block, so we're looking for a southern wind pushing the smoke away from Highway 34, so we don't cover it up in smoke and people can't see and they get in a wreck. That's on us. We don't want that.
Have you ever burned by I-65?
We do. We burn on the side of the interstate all the time.
How do you handle it there?
Well, we have to pick a wind speed and direction that we know is going to push the smoke off of the interstate for several days. Even the residual smoke that lingers, we don't want that anywhere near the interstate. Yeah, so everybody on our team has already been to school. They're certified burn managers for this state. They have to go through a course, they take a test, and then there's continuing education to keep those certifications current. Everybody here on our crew is a certified burn manager.
I'm also going to do my best also to link some good sources, not only from forestry associations, but also from wildlife professors and ecology management people that are people like Turkeys for Tomorrow. And there's a podcast that I love that is by some professors from both Auburn University and University of Florida that do a really good job about explaining about these tools. All right, so I hope you've learned a lot. I certainly have. Frequently asked questions about prescribed fire. If you've got questions about prescribed fire control burns, don't call me because I am not an expert. Call CFM, they are the experts here. But I am an expert on real estate around Lake Martin. My name's John Coley with Lake Martin Voice Realty, and controlled fire in the land around Lake Martin, they're an important thing to know because that's why we're here. We're here for the nature, we're here for the solitude, and the woods around Lake Martin are a huge part of that. So if I can help you and answer any questions, give me a holler.